Hello, greetings, welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph, and I am the host of this show. So I apologize for the slight delay in getting here. I realized I didn't write the list down of albums I wanted, that it was all on my notes on the computer. So it took me a while to get them all. But I have them all here, all 10 of the albums. So for those of you who are new, this is Rock Topics, a live stream that I'm doing here Thursday. Now, I've been trying to do it every second Thursday, but it hasn't really worked out like that because I've been too busy. But we're doing it tonight. I'm just going to move this slightly forward so get a bit of a better view here. So tonight's Rock Topics for the live stream is called 10 Hard Rock Classic Albums. I've picked 10 here. All of them, I think, good representation across the strip of all of the different types of hard rock. Some of them having fusion for, having a little bit of that progressive element to it. Some of them having a little bit more metal sound to them. Some of them a little maybe closer to the pop side. Some bluesy, hard rock went bluesy, but at some point they're all tied together by that hard rock element, which at one time, the hard rock element was my favorite genre of music. Probably the first 5 or 6 years that I was listening to rock music, that was the genre that was my favorite. Maybe the back half of that, maybe in the 5th or 6th year, it started to become more progressive. And then there was this period of time that somewhere in maybe the 6th or 7th or 8th year where I kind of lost interest in it all altogether and started going with this kind of psychedelic, heavy blues, rhythm and blues type music. And that was on for a few years, and then the music just kind of drifted as I started to go off and did different genres, because the music of that period in time, all the bands that I liked changed their music, became more commercial, poppy sounding, sappy stuff that I just didn't want to listen to. So I kind of went off in different direction. But in the 90s, I started to make a big, wide, sweeping turn and came back in. By the end of the 90s, it was pretty clear to me that the progressive rock movement was the movement that was drawing me back in. And since that time, so about mid 1990s till now, it's been a slow progression, this, no puns intended, to moving towards the progressive element of music, much more so now that the channel's going than it ever was before either. But today we're going to talk about that hard rock genres and these particular 10 rock albums, and why I think they're hard rock albums and why I like them so much. So we'll start with the last one I collected off the shelf, which is Triumph's Rock and Roll Machine. Now, you could say Triumph as a band overall is very hard rock oriented, but they aren't a pure hard rock band. Probably the stuff that interested me the most initially from this album was the hard rock stuff. Rocky Mountain Way, Street Fighter, Takes Time, and then the title track at the very end, Rock and Roll Machine. All pretty hard rock songs. Blinding Light Show and Moonchild, I think, kind of began the progressive element for them. So they have some progressive stuff in their music, more so on the next album than probably any of the other ones on the Just a Game album. But they still have a lot of that. They have a huge bluesy element to their music, maybe quite a bit of classical sound to their music as well. Usually most of their albums had at least one classical guitar part. And you have a couple of different vocalists, so they both had very different sounds. I think uh, Gil Moore had more of that bluesy element to his music, whereas um, Rick Emmett more of a hard rock sound, maybe more progressive sound to his voice. So this album is quite good. I never actually ever considered this to be one of my favorite Triumph albums, but it was one of my first ones. And I still quite like it, but I think of it as being somewhat different from the rest of their stuff. So their initial first album was just kind of a jumble of a bunch of stuff. This was really, to me, the first kind of organized album by them that definitely had a hard rock element to it. Probably the one album that is really dominated by that element. And then going forward, they started to get more clean sounding, more progressive sounding, more organized, and some of their best stuff coming forward as well. But so this was kind of the first one for me. Like it quite a bit. And there's Rocky Mountain Ways on here too, which was the reason that I bought the album, because I knew that song. And that's the song that kind of brought me into this band. So that's the first of the 10 albums, Triumph's Rock and Roll Machine. Next up is this album by The Sweet, which didn't come along for me until 40 some years later. This is Desolation Boulevard. Has some songs from some of their other albums on here, but it's basically a hard rock album. The best stuff on this album is their hard rock stuff. Stuff like No You Don't, AC/DC, Sweet FA is on here. Solid Gold Brass. I Want to Be Committed. This just is just the deep cuts on here are so good. It's the 16s, yeah. Really solid deep cuts on here as well. But of course, this also has some of their big hits, the more poppy stuff. Ballroom Blitz and Fox on the Run. Those are their two big hits on here. Definitely, they do have that hard rock element to the sound of those two songs, but they're commercial free songs with some pop elements to them as well. But this is a very strong album. I personally think this is their best album. They do have some other albums that I kind of like as well, but this is the one that really set for me. And it didn't come into being until about 5 years ago. Before that, I was basically the radio friendly stuff that drew me into this band. But once I started listening to this, I thought how good this album really is. Ballroom Blitz, The Sweet. Number 3, we're going to go to Van Halen, their middle album, one of their middle albums. Album that I first knew about the band. My friend bought it, and we were listening to this all the time. And then we started moving forward with them. But this was the first kind of overexposure to the band. And songs like And the Cradle Will Rock and Everybody Wants Some, really heavy stuff. Definitely classic kind of Van Halen sound with all of that kind of weird kind of sexual innuendo type stuff going on here. Some pretty heavy guitar as well. Other songs like Tora Tora, Fools, Take Your Whiskey Home, in simple rhyme. They're all got bits and pieces of that hard rock element to the music, but there's also a poppy element to their music as well. This album, not as commercial sounding, not as poppy as some of their other albums, but definitely got that going on. A solid album by Van Halen. All 6 of their original albums, I think, pretty solid. The error with I can't even think of his name. The other vocalist that took over from David Lee Roth. I just never warmed really up to their sound with him. Not that it's bad. It's actually probably more of a clean sound, the better production, and had just as many hits in some ways, but just wasn't that. To me, it just wasn't the same. So for me, it's the David Lee Roth stuff. Sammy Hagar, that's who I'm thinking of. Anyways, the next album out, Jailbreak, from Thin Lizzy. This is kind of their middle album, or one of the middle albums, released in '76. Of course, has their big hit on it, "The Boys Are Back in Town," but never was a huge fan of that song. If anything, that song was a bit of a detriment to them to me getting into them. Hey, Grandizer, welcome to the show. Yeah, I figured it out. I had a brain clot there, but it came back. Anyways, yeah, this one's got some really heavy stuff on it, but I wouldn't call this even like some of the later albums they had, which were kind of bordering on metal. This one is straight on hard rock stuff. Jailbreak, Angel from the Coast, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, really classic sound for Thin Lizzy. Fight or Fall, the Cowboy Song, and of course Emerald, which is maybe the best track on this particular album. Yeah, that's me, gruesome. I'm barely awake. I fell asleep and then I woke up thinking it was 7:30 in the morning when it was actually 7:30 in the evening. So I was a little bit discombobulated. But anyways, really good, solid album. I don't know if it's my favorite Thin Lizzy album. Maybe it is. I haven't decided on how they rank just yet. Eventually, I'll get to it. Next up, this is Styx. This is kind of a weird moment for Styx, Equinox. So to me, this is one of their best albums, and it came out right after the Wooden Nickel era. They still had all of the band members that were in it during the Wooden Nickel era, but no Tommy Shaw at this point. And the album didn't get promoted very well. But to me, it's next to my favorite album for sure. And it's the hard rock stuff on here that really draws me in. Midnight Ride, Born for Adventure, just absolutely killer tracks. Some of the other stuff. Lonely Child, Lorelei, Light Up, probably a little bit more well-known, a little bit more poppy sounding, a little bit more commercial sounding, all good. And then, of course, this has Sweet Madam Blue, which is absolutely killer track. Yeah, you're not going to find, to me, I don't think, from top to bottom, I don't think there's a better Styx album as far as all the songs being just really solid, really good. And this, to me, is a hard rock album. Next up, BOC, Blue Oyster Cult here. This is the album that drew me into the band, Fire of Unknown Origin. I've had this album in some form for the past 45 years now. It was a long time before I got my second Blue Oyster Cult album, but this one is so good. And I discovered this album from the movie Heavy Metal, which featured veteran of the Psychic Wars. That drew me in, and then I went and bought this album, and I've been listening to this album ever since. And some of the best stuff on here: Vengeance of the Pack, After Dark, Fire of Unknown Origin. These kind of hard rock leaning songs. Burning for You is the more the commercial sounding stuff that you would expect. And you got Heavy Metal, the Black and Silver, which kind of bordering on metal, but not really metal. Yeah, but just from top to bottom, I've liked just about everything on this album at one point or another. So it's my entry point for Blue Oyster Cult. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite Blue Oyster Cult album anymore. It's hard to say, but it's still the only masterpiece one that I have. Next is one of the great hard rock albums of all time, in my opinion. And my opinion is the only one that I have, because I can't have your opinion. This is Not Fragile from Bachman Turner Overdrive, a kind of a play on words. So Yes had put out the album Fragile, and they wanted to put out the album Not Fragile, which is kind of the opposite of that. This is a very hard rock album. Every song from top to bottom is good. Maybe Freewheelin' is a little on the weak side, but the rest of the album from top to bottom is fantastic. You got heavy hitters like Not Fragile, Sledgehammer, which are just absolutely killer tunes. You've got the well-known tracks like Rock and Roll Roll On Down the Highway, You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. These are the kind of the bigger, more well-known tracks on the album. Then you've got some of the songs at the bottom half with like Blue Moon, Secondhand, and Giving It All Away, which are all just like really heavy driving kind of commercial sounding driving songs. Yeah, from top to bottom, this is a fantastic. And of course, my favorite song on this album is Rock Is My Life and This Is My Song. That's probably my favorite BTO song altogether. Just a fantastic album with so much good stuff going on here. Maybe one of the top hard rock albums of all time, in my opinion. Yep, it is. Fantastic song. No doubt about it. That's where I got my Blue Oyster Cult start. Veteran of 1,000 Psychic Wars, or Veteran of the Psychic Wars. Absolutely killer track. Next up, we have 3 to go. Next up is AC/DC's Let There Be Rock. Doesn't get the kind of notoriety that some of their other albums like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap and Back in Black and Highway to Hell. These are kind of the albums that people like to comment on all the time. But if I can only keep one AC/DC album at this point in history, this would be the one I keep. It's got a real kind of driving hard rock sound to it, a rock and roll sound if you prefer. But all the tunes on this are really good. Go Down, Dog Eat Dog, and Eat Cat 2. Yep. Let There Be Rock, the title track. Bad Boy Boogie, Problem Child. Problem Child's a very underrated song. Overdosed on You, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, and a Whole Lot of Rosie. So from top to bottom, this is a smashing album. Really hard driving. Just a classic AC/DC sound. Overall, think it's their absolute best album. And produced by none other than Vonda and Young. 1977's AC/DC Let There Be Rock. Even the cover is just absolutely AC/DC-ish. The Dire Straits have never been my favorite album. It may have been favorite on some particular selected style of music for some reason, but they've never been my favorite album. No, I don't think it's according to me. Sorry. You may have seen a video in which that album was number 1 for a reason, but I've got 2,900 videos here. I don't know what you're referring to. So if you want to refer to the spot, I can always go back and look and see why I had it down there like that. Anyways, this is a fantastic album. Next up was the first album that came to mind when I decided to do this episode, and that's Hair of the Dog from Nazareth. Despite one of the main reasons is this awesome album cover here, both the back side and the front side of the album. Yeah, it's absolutely a killer album. There's a couple of other bands that have used the same artist, Topple Ace. If you want to go look their album up, they used the same artist. Really solid album cover. This one is really good. It's got some of the best hard rock stuff, and obviously some of the best Nazareth stuff as well. So you got the title track, Hair of the Dog, which is absolutely a killer track. Yeah, probably up there with you. Next is Miss Misery. This is one of my favorite Nazareth songs. Pretty, like, real beefy guitar, really heavy song. Catchy as old hell. Lots of really good riffing stuff here. Guilty is really good as well. Changing Times is okay. Beggar's Day is different. Rose in the Heather, another great song. Whiskey Drinking Woman, absolutely killer track here. Please Don't Judas Me. This may be my favorite track on the album. At least it is currently, but it could change. And then it's got some bonus stuff here. Of course, Love Hurts, which is also on one of the original tracks as well, is on here. That was initially probably my favorite song by this group. Then they do a cover of My White Bicycle from Tomorrow, which is kind of a strange cover for them to do. Holy Roller and Railroad Boy, really decent stuff. But this is killer album. If you don't own any Nazareth and you're not sure where to start, and you like this kind of hard rock, I'm thinking you're probably liking that, since that's why you're here tonight. This is the album I suggest, Hair of the Dog. And then the very last album on this list tonight this is Hotter Than Hell. I chose this. I could have chosen one of any of their early albums. I like this one because from top to bottom, it's the best album for content. Maybe not for sound as much. The sound is a little bit murky. It sounds kind of slow and sluggish at times. But the tracks themselves, really, really, really good stuff. Almost all the tracks on here I like. Got to choose. I like the version on the live a little better, but this one's still good. Parasite. I actually like both versions of Parasite for different reasons. The song Hotter Than Hell, probably a little bit too burned out for me, but I did like it initially. Going Blind is that kind of funny song that people like to make fun of. Let Me Go Rock and Roll, maybe the worst track on the album, but still not bad. It's the backside of this album, which I think is really strong. You've got All the Way and Watching You, which are two of my favorite early Kiss songs, maybe two of my favorite Kiss songs altogether. Mainline, another really good Peter Criss vocal song. Coming Home is a really strong song from Paul Stanley initially. And then, of course, you've got Strange Ways, which Ace wrote and Gene sang. I think it was Gene. Did Gene sing Strange Ways? Or maybe it was Peter. It might have been Peter. It's been a while since I've listened to it. But this is just a killer album. I do like this kind of ultimate Kiss mask here, where they put everybody together. I used to draw this on all of my notepads and school textbooks when I was in high school. I was at that time probably in elementary school. But yeah, really, really strong. Content-wise, one of their strongest albums. Maybe not so good in the production stuff, but really good. I possibly, but I don't know much about Satanic Panic, so I don't know. Is that a band name or a type of music? I don't know much about it, so I'd have to look into it. Well, yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Drummer, it's hard on drummers sitting in that position, like they're sitting in and playing drums for years on end. It's got to damage their back. You just look at Phil Collins, you can see that pretty simply. Now, I'm not really all that surprised. And Bill Ward's got to be late 70s, maybe early 80s. I think he's the oldest member of the band originally. Yeah, I get it. A lot of people use those walkers that you can turn around and use for seats as well. Like they'll use it to walk along, but if they need a rest, they can turn it around and sit down in it like a chair. I see these. My building is pretty much proliferated with these type of chairs everywhere. I get it. You like to go for a walk, but if you can't go very far, you have to have some ability to sit down. I think that works. I see guys out. There's a couple guys in my building that go for these walks around the block or whatever, but they take their little walkers with them. And then they're able to sit down halfway and rest for a bit and then continue along on the journey. Makes perfect sense to me. Some people like to do those little driving things they sit on and drive around too. And now we have them here where they're not just those drive around things, but they're enclosed, almost like a little car in some ways. Yeah. Okay, Murph. No, the Satanic Panic was that era from 70s to 90s where some things were considered gateway to Satanism. Music, board games, books, other things. Yeah, I don't really know much about this topic. This is news to me. I didn't know that that's what it was called. I kind of think I know what you're talking about, but it's not something I ever really followed much. Yeah, I may have listened to some bands that might fall into that category, but I've never once had much of a desire to listen to that kind of stuff. I always thought it was just kind of hokey when people would say, if you play this album backwards or play that album backwards, you're going to get some satanic message. To which my question is always, why are you playing albums backwards in the first place? Like, what's the point to that, really? Anyways, yeah, I don't know much about that. I mean, I can look into it if you want me to do an episode on it, but I don't know that I can contribute much to what you might get out of it. But I'd be willing to do it. Not a big deal. As far as the board games or books or other stuff like that, I couldn't tell you anything about that era. Yeah, so I'm going to give you these albums again from top to bottom, just in case you came in late and didn't see them. So we had Kiss is Hotter Than Hell, their third studio album released back in 1974. You got Nazareth's Hair of the Dog. I believe this one, was released the same year. No, this was a year later, 1975. Nazareth's Hair of the Dog. I think this is their fourth studio album. Let There Be Rock from AC/DC. Now, I think this came out before Power Age and after, now what's the name of that album? High Voltage. So I think it was the High Voltage, which was the kind of first international album, which was a mix of their first two albums. And then I think there was Let There Be Rock, so that would have been their fourth album, and this probably their fifth album. Not Let There Be Rock. I'm drawing a blank again. I can see it and I can't remember. Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. That's the one I'm thinking of. It's probably my least favorite of their albums. So I think that was like their fifth album, fourth album, and this one was next and came fifth. Then you had Power Age, Highway to Hell, and Back in Black. So yeah. Next up is Bachman Turner Overdrive's Not Fragile. This is their third studio album, released in 75 as well, or no, 73, so they're a little bit earlier on this one than I thought. Next up, Blue Oyster Cult, Fire of Unknown Origin. I think this was their 81 album. Yeah. I don't know where it fits in the discography. It might be like 7th or 8th, somewhere in there. You've got Styx's Equinox. This is their fifth studio album, their last one with John Krulewski, and their just prior to Crystal Ball, which is the first one with Tommy Shaw. I actually like this one. It's one of my favorite of their albums. And you got Thin Lizzy's Jailbreak. This came out in 1976. It's a strong album. I don't know, they're like their third or fourth album? I'm not really sure. It has, of course, their big hit, The Boys Are Back in Town. That's the song they're most well known for. So let me see. No, I don't listen to music while I'm out. I'm not an earphones kind of guy, a headphones kind of guy, so I don't really listen to it when I'm out. Mostly in the house is when I listen to it. I do listen to headphones when I'm in the house sometimes because it gets late. You can't wake up the neighbors. And I don't walk anymore. My legs are too bad. I mostly ride my bike everywhere. Pretty much that's it. Biking everywhere. The Spoons, no, I didn't cover the Spoons. I don't think I've ever mentioned them, actually. And I know they're a Canadian new wave band. I don't recall anything from them, and I'm pretty sure I never mentioned them before. They're one of those bands. There's probably about 30 or 40 of these bands that I'm aware of, but for some reason I've never actually listened to them. And they're also bands that I don't dislike, but I may just simply not have gone in that direction. No, I don't think it's my memory, though. I don't think my memory has any problems at all. I think it's just tired. When I get tired, my thoughts get loose and hard to hold on to. And I'm just a little bit tired during the week, more so than I am on the weekend. I've discovered that once I'm fully rested and everything, my brain works just as good as it ever has. I don't think of myself as having any kind of a memory issue. In fact, it's probably the opposite with me. A lot of people will, if I'm driving somebody somewhere and I've driven them before, I will remember stuff they've said or where exactly they live, or they may have told me some little bitty story that I will repeat and recall to them, and they'll just be amazed that I remember that stuff. I've always had an excellent memory. I don't, Serial Azka, is that some kind of a music show channel? I don't know that. Oh, yeah, we keep going. So the other albums included Van Halen's Women and Children First, the Sweets, Desolation Boulevard, sorry. Much harder album than people think. I think of Sweet as basically a pop band, but my experience with their music is that it's actually more hard rock, and that the stuff that you hear on the radio is very poppy, but it doesn't really represent the band very well. They're one of those few bands whose music that you hear on the radio doesn't really represent the music that they really play. It's for some reason they have one or two poppy songs on different albums that they made specifically to get radio friendly stuff, but it isn't really representative of their music. And next is Triumph's Rock and Roll Machine. So that was the last. I chose that album over other Triumph albums because I don't think it has really any progressive elements to it. It's just a straight on hard rock album with some bluesy stuff on it. Just fantastic stuff. So those are the 10 albums I chose tonight. I mean, you could choose, like, there's a whole bunch more stuff I could have chose, but I wanted to keep it to 10 albums today. So those are the ones I kept it to. If anybody's listening and they want to add some albums to it that they think definitely, I could have chosen an Aerosmith album. I could have chosen, there's a couple of Aerosmith albums that came to mind for this show, but I decided not to go with them today. I wasn't really in the mood for them. You could choose, there's even a couple of early Whitesnake albums that I think definitely more hard rock. I actually considered Whitesnake to add into here too, and some Deep Purple stuff as well, but I decided that I wanted to pick some stuff that I hadn't been picking as of late, and so I given these 10 albums a real go for here. I've been on a little bit of a Kiss thing since I did the little the Kiss from the Monsters of the 70s video that I did of them. I think, was it last week? I think it was last week. Yeah, last week when I did that. Then it was a little bit on the Kiss bandwagon for this week. Serial Azkoth has two podcasts. Where Did the Road Go? And where he covers metal and hard rock from the past to current. The DJ and radio in the 90s. He is out of an upstate at New York. Yeah, no, I don't think I've heard or seen any stuff by him. Paranormal topics. Okay. I'm not sure. Is that music? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what paranormal even is, really. I've heard the term before, but I'm not sure what it is. As far as I know, he's good. He sent me some CDs. I believe it's him. I got a package coming from Australia. I know he had talked to me about sending me some of the CDs. I guess because he's got a huge collection and he wants to like maybe clean out some of his stuff. And plus, he thinks there's stuff that will go well on the channel. So he sent me a box or a crate or whatever it is that he's sending to me via the mail. I'll probably get it sometime this week. And depending on what it is or how much there is of it, I may do some special episodes on it. And yeah, he's no longer doing stuff on the channel. He decided after 4.5 years of helping me out that he was going to step away. And so I'm on my own, but I'm doing pretty good. But he still watches the channel. I see his comments in my comment section all the time. I think he's pretty busy with work too. I'm not even quite sure what it is he does, but I know he's always traveling. So very busy guy. Has some younger kids too. I don't know how old they are, but I think they're probably teenagers now. Yeah, so that's it for Ben. Like Ben's not doing anything, but I'm still doing a episode called "Who Did It Better." I gave it about a month rest after he left, and then I've gone back to it, changed it just slightly. But I'm doing the picking of the song and the bands that are covering it, just talking about them. This week's actually going to be a fairly lengthy one because we have a song that's been covered by about 6 different bands, and I'm going to talk about each version of it and tell you which one I think is better, right? Yeah, I don't know if the UFO things really interest me much. Ghost, I'm not really into. Monsters and cryptics, so I don't mind the monster aspect, mostly because I'm a monster here myself. But I don't really follow any of too much of the weird stuff. Maybe I like the man thing a little bit more, but I don't know if he would be considered paranormal. I just think of him as a comic book monster. When I was growing up, we would often have our late night on Saturdays where we would watch the U channel for all of the Japanese monster movies starring Godzilla and his Monster Island guys. We watch those all the time. Yeah, I'll go check it out. I don't know if it's something I really like. I do like The Walking Dead, but I don't really think of that as paranormal. But I guess in some ways, I guess it is. Yeah, I'm not. For some reason, I've never really been a monster guy. But when you look at my history, it's pretty obvious that I have been a monster guy at times. You know, I do like those monster shows. I think the big things for me growing up were basically um, comic books, big comic books, music, um, sports, and science and nature. But mostly for the science part was mostly astronomy. That's what I did, and reading all the time. I probably read thousands of books. But I'll give it a check out. I'll look him up. I'll look him up and see what he's about. I don't watch much in the way of um, podcasts. I don't think I watch. I can't other than um, what's his name, the big one. God, I can't remember his name. So many things to remember today, and I'm just too tired to remember them all. Yeah, I'll definitely check them out. I'll check them out when I get a chance. Yeah, the stuff that I pretty much watch are all YouTube channels. There's about a half a dozen people on YouTube that I kind of watch at least one or two other episodes a week. Brendan Snyder, of course. Sea of Tranquility, kind of the two big in the music part. I do like the charismatic voice. I don't know, something about her that I find interesting. She's really good at breaking down music. That's part of the thing I like about her. Uh, Baseball demos featuring Dave. I watch his probably more than any other channel. There's a couple of dinosaur ones that I watch. What they call them, country balls. I watch that one sometimes, but none of these I watch a lot of because I'm too busy doing this. When I come home from work, I basically do three things: I eat, I make my videos, and I watch my baseball. That's pretty much it. If I can get those things in without passing out, I'm happy. Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty. I prefer YouTube. There's some stuff on YouTube that I watch fairly regularly too. There's a guy who does the election map for the U.S. Every couple weeks, he'll put out a new um, election map video, which I love the way he breaks everything down. So I do watch that on occasion too, and a few other channels too that I will watch. Sometimes I watch the Prague Corner with Scott Lade. He's kind of a combination of things, and it's probably the reason why he's so popular. He's quite funny, and I don't know how he does that constant voice. That would give me a migraine, but he's good at that, and he's very knowledgeable about his music too, which I think is the main reason I watch him. And there's of course, there's Jack Jack Burial's channel, which I watch sometimes too. He's been sick for a while, so I haven't been watching him as much, but I watch that. Um, Dave Rubin, sometimes I watch Dave Rubin. Um, that's pretty much it. Or, um, oh, I can't even think of his name right now. Sometimes I watch Ben Shapiro, those kind of people. I try to stay away from nut jobs, though, as many as I can. Okay. Last Exit for the Lost. Okay. I'll look it up. The only metal show that I kind of watch is there's two of them. There's The Alchemist. I don't think I watch that very much anymore. And the other one was Bryce Knows Metal. I used to watch that quite a bit too. Kind of gotten away from that a bit too. Yep, work is work. How's life? Well, I'm alive. That's good, and I'm doing okay. I've upgraded the channel here a little bit. I got myself a new desk, put it all in a new location. Got some new lighting here, which is I think making it much easier to see. I'm not having to. I forgot to turn the far light on. That's why you're getting a little bit of that darkness on the CDs in the background there. Not a big deal though. You can see me plainly, and the mic I've put in a spot that I think works better than it was before as well. Well, I like all Major League Baseball teams, but the Blue Jays are the one I watch, and I don't watch the games because I don't really have time for them, but I do watch the nightly. Um, I think it's 11 to 15 minute what they call breakdown of the game. They show you the highlights, the highlight reel, I guess that's what you call it. So I watch that every day without fail. It's the one show that I watch every day without fail. Yeah, I like to listen to my music while I'm cleaning. So I play my CDs while I'm doing stuff around the house, and then once in a while I'll sit down and actually listen to the album without doing anything. It's a big difference too when you do that. When you're just listening to them in the background, sometimes they catch on with you, not all the time. Um, Other times when I sit there and listen to it, I get a lot more out of it. Yeah, I don't own that album. Um, I probably would if I seen it, but it just hasn't materialized at the record store. I haven't seen it since, and I go there a couple times a week and look around. I don't always buy something, but for the most part, I go through the used CD bin. Their used CDs are as good as most people's new ones, so I don't have any problems buying stuff. I bought a couple for them this week, and they're gonna go in my next video. And this week I'll get the new Deep Purple album. Probably get that either tomorrow or, well, probably actually on Saturday. I'll go down when I got to go down there, and on my after church on Saturday, I'll whip over and see if he has it there for me. The new Splat album by Deep Purple. Yeah, Bryce knows metal. I don't think Bryce has been doing much in recent time. He used to be putting out lists and talking about albums all the time, but I think he's a young guy. He's probably in his early 20s, so he's probably in university or something, and has kind of gotten out of the YouTube channel for a bit. Maybe I haven't seen anything from him. The Alchemist is good. He's very well known. See him on Sea of Tranquility sometimes as well. The darkness, no. I just forgot to turn the light on over here. I turned the two stand lights and the one over here on, but I forgot to turn the back one on. So you're not getting any reflection from that part of the house. So it's showing up as dark here in the background. I realized it once I started, but I didn't think it made that much of a difference since you can see me clearly. Sometimes I like to use the blue light or the red light here with these new lamps, but mostly I just get the clear light, and then it can go up really bright too. I'll show you. There you go. So this is good. It can really, really kick it way up. But of course, I usually just keep it on the lowest setting. But it's nice. I bought them as a set. I think they've really enhanced the lighting on the channel, which, I've had some times in the past where it seems way too dark to me, but the lighting from the roof doesn't work properly. So I decided I would get proper lighting, which I did. And I got a proper desk here so I can actually put stuff on and not worry about it falling off. So anyways, that's it for the show tonight. I appreciate people coming on, and it's nice to see you again, Grandizer. And nice to enjoy the chat with you. But we will be back probably in a couple weeks. I will do this show again. I thought about doing one on Sundays, but I've been going out of town a lot this last few weeks, so I decided I'll just hold off. Maybe I'll wait till the fall and when I'm not going away as much, and then we'll do something again. Anyways, hope to see you all again on my next show. Tomorrow night is Who Did It Better. Hopefully we'll see some of you out for that. Take care and have yourself a good evening. Good night here from the Prog Monster. Take care, Grandizer. We'll see you then. Oop, I think I pressed the wrong button here. Now I can't even find my exit. Oh, it's up here. I always think it's down at the bottom. There we go.